So I checked out the new Peter Pan horror film, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, which follows Wendy Darling attempting to rescue her brothers from the clutches of an evil Peter Pan. Along the way, she meets Tweakerbell, who will be seen taking heroin, believing that it's pixie dust. This is the third film in the Poohniverse, following the first two Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey movies. Honestly, if there was a childhood character that is ripe for the horror genre, it would be Peter Pan. Peter Pan first appeared in the 1902 novel, The White Bird, in which he had his own little chapter. Disney later read that chapter and said, what if we just sanitize this a bit? Behold, we had the animated version, but we've also had a couple different variations of Peter Pan. We had the late Robin Williams Peter Pan, we had the one in '03, we had the one with Johnny Depp and Freddie Highmore. Disney had their little live action remake a couple of years ago, and we've had the one where they sing Nirvana for some strange reason. Here we are now. Hesitate us! But we've never had a horror Peter Pan, so now here we are. Starting off with the goods of this movie, which I was surprisingly able to find some in here. The movie is directed by Scott Chambers, who played Christopher Robin in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. He's stepping up to the director's chair, and I thought he did pretty decent for what this movie is. I thought atmospherically it was creepy and headed in the right direction. This is a character that if you followed for a really long time, you know that there are some dark and twisted theories about Peter Pan, about how he kills kids and takes them to Neverland, and Hook trying to rescue those kids. Dig into that theory as much as you like. That is a theory that I'd really like to convince myself of. So Scott Chambers was able to make it very atmospheric, and a lot of that has to do with the performance of Martin Perlock as Peter Pan. That makes the moments creepy and unnerving whenever he is on screen, and I thought the design of Peter Pan worked very well for the kind of creepy and deranged killer that we have in this movie. So on some aspects, when it came down to the design of this movie, I really like what they were going for, and there was a lot of potential for this movie to really expand the world and give us a new and refreshing take on this world, because we've seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2, and while I find some enjoyment to those movies, they're not the best movies ever, but I can see where the potential is, especially in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. So I was really hoping that with Scott Chambers in the director's chair, he was able to do something decent and be able to breathe life like they did with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. But this movie really feels a lot more like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 than it does Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. For a movie called Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, we never go to Neverland in this movie, and that was one of the biggest disappointments for me. Throughout the entire film, you have Peter Pan telling these kids that he's going to be taking them to Neverland, and he never does. I think I read that he did an interview where he didn't want to do the Neverland aspect in case this movie bombed. In that case, just call it something else. Maybe call it just Peter Pandemonium. I'm sorry for that. That is one thing that I was so ready to see. I wanted to see what their take on Neverland was going to be, and it never happened. It was just threads here and there, and when this movie is marketed as a slasher, there is no kills in here that made it feel even remotely impressive. There are some scares here and there that actually got me, and I thought atmospherically, I thought it was creepy and unnerving. Strip that away, this movie is just bland. The film opens up the same way that the It movies opened up, with Martin Perlock doing his best Pennywise impersonation, and it feels like it's just the same opening of It. As far as the slasher elements in here, those elements don't really work because there aren't even any remotely interesting kills. They all just feel so sanitized, and with a deranged killer like Peter Pan, you want to be able to have a lot of decent kills in here, and we barely even scratch the surface on how many kills we get. There are like 5 maybe here and there, and they're all just so sanitized. They don't make it feel fun. This movie, just like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2, it takes itself seriously. It doesn't have fun with its concept. That is one of the biggest disappointing factors of this movie. The fact that it's a slasher film and we barely get any kills. But even with a movie like this where you have a deranged killer, especially with one scene involving kids on a bus, it just cuts away, proving that even in a movie like this, they don't want to show any kids being killed. They just show the aftermath of what happens, and that was one of the biggest disappointing factors of this movie. The kills are just bland and boring. There's not enough gore, and when we get to Wendy as a character, she is just bland. You don't really care about her. You don't really know anything about her besides the fact that she kind of avoids her brother here and there. And I was just never was able to attach myself to this character and want to be able to root for her. Nothing in here makes it really enjoyable or fun. Even when it came down to Tweaker Bell, I do like what they were trying to do with that character, and on some aspects I thought it worked, but everything else, it was just a long and boring mess. Even something that I had no problems with in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2. This movie just drags, and it's only 90 minutes, and it felt like it was a never ending story because it just felt like it was never ending. And a lot of that has to do with the pacing, the kills. The set design is fine, but everything else, you see the potential in there, and they just completely wasted. So overall, this is a movie that is fine for what it is. I thought it was decent. I didn't hate my time watching this movie, but I can see where the potential is. There are some decent things in here, but nothing that will really stick out to me, just like in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2. Overall, this is a movie that had a lot of potential that was just completely wasted, and I kind of hope that with the Bambi movie and the Pinocchio Unstrung movie, they're able to have a little bit more of a creative mind, especially since Pinocchio has Robert Englund and Robert Blake, I believe. So hopefully that movie has a little bit more fun and a little bit more creative edge to it. But overall, you can watch it when it's on streaming or something like that. But those are my thoughts on Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares. Are you guys planning on checking this film out? Or if you have checked it out, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about it, and let me know what you thought about this whole Poohniverse. Does it work for you, or is it just a wasted concept? Drop those thoughts in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys for the next review.